Hello, my name is Heike Weber. I'm zoo veterinarian and curator at the Nordhorn Zoo. I'm very pleased to present our Curlew Headstarting project here today. The Nordhorn Zoo, we say Tierpark Nordhorn, is located in northwest Germany, directly on the Netherlands border. It belongs to the district of Grafschaft-Bentheim and is located in the western tip of the federal state of Lower Saxony. Let's look at the curlew numbers in Germany. Left, you see the map of Germany, right of Lower Saxony. Encircled is the district of Grafschaft-Bentheim, where we are located. You can see that the curlew density here is still relatively high compared to other areas. The last national curlew census took place in 2011. 3,600 breeding pairs, were counted for the whole of Germany, 1,700 for Lower Saxony, and 200 to 250 for the district of Grafschaft-Bentheim. Unfortunately, the curlew population is clearly declining throughout Germany. Biologists suspect that it has fallen by around 20 to 25%. Curlews are now critically endangered in Germany. Since the 1990s, we have had a local meadow bird protection program supported by different stakeholders. The work of the biologist on site consists mainly in habitat improvement and intensive protection of curlew nests. If the nest really cannot be protected on site, the biologists of the project, Robert Tüllinghoff and Christian Kerperin, in consultation with the Lower Nature Conservation Authority, have been bringing these eggs to us since 1999. Therefore, before I show you some more details from our Curlew Headstarting project, here is a little about the costs and the number of staff. I cannot name the latter because the zookeepers who look after the curlews do this during their normal zoo work. The same applies to my work as veterinarian and project manager. But what we have roughly calculated are the costs for the normal care of the curlews, for the food, the energy for the breeding machines and heat lamps, and the daily care, cleaning, feeding, cleaning, feeding several times per day. This means we have running costs of around €800 per nest. This does not include organization, veterinary treatment, cost for premises, aviaries, equipment, ringing, telemetry, and data collection. Now a brief insight in our facility. After hatching, the chicks stay in the rearing room for approximately 1.5 or 3 weeks. If possible, all siblings of one nest together in a rolling container. After many different attempts, we keep them on tolls that are changed several times a day. From day 2, there's a water bowl and several food bowls in each container. There is a heat lamp hanging on one side, you see in the right picture. The other side is covered with towels as a place to hide. When the little ones are big enough, when they are weighted around 120 to 200 grams, they are moved to the 1/3 covered outdoor aviary. Here we keep them on sand. You see in the right picture some plant materials, but we have them removed all. More on that later. In addition to the water and food bowls, they have here also a bathing pool. Wooden boards inside and raffia mats on the outside serve as hiding places or privacy screens. The superdolls remain here for about 3 to 4 weeks until they are almost ready to fly. Before the almost fully fledged young birds are moved to the release aviary, they are examined, measured, weighted, ringed, and if possibly fit with radio transmitters. Manfred Kipp helped us with this for many years. Now Helmut Krukenberg took over. You see him in the left picture. Since 2022, we have been using the soft release aviary you see in the photos. It is a net aviary that is located in a large fenced-in biotope from the Meadow Bird Protection Project. We enter the aviary through the door twice a day to feed in the front area. where all the food bowls, food and waste bins, water canisters, and a bathing basin are located. After about a week, we open the net at the back, halfway up, you see in the right picture, down, so that the birds can go out and in again if they like, or fly out as you see in the picture. Here is another inside view, left side the bathing basin, which will be used quite often by the birds. Some facts about productivity. From 1999 to 2005, we unfortunately have not so good documentation, but from 2006 to 2024, we got in 296 eggs. The chicks hatched in 231 cases, which corresponds to a percentage of 78% hatching rate. 20 eggs were unfertilized and 45 embryos had died in the egg at various stages. So altogether 22% didn't hatch. In addition to these 231 hatched birds, we also received 19 young animals during these years. So in total, 250 chicks were raised. Unfortunately, 44 died between hatching and release, which corresponds to a percentage of 17.6%. Altogether, from 2006 to 2024, we could release 201 young birds into the wild. Based on the 250 young birds which we raised, this corresponds to a percentage of 80.4%. Let's move on to my specialty, veterinary medicine. As a veterinarian, curlews surprise me almost every year. I honestly don't know of any other bird species that causes as many problems as curlews do. We don't have the time to clarify details here, but at least I have some photos for you as an overview. First of all, what can happen are hatching problems at all different stages, very difficult to find out the cause and very difficult to help. Crook tooth. This is great actually because it can be easily treated just by taping for 1 to 3 days. At least if the tooths are not extremely crooked, like here in the right picture, or the legs are spread significantly. That's more difficult and complicated. Much more difficult are symptoms such as apathy or growth stop. Actually, the whole topic of feeding during rearing is an extremely important one, but also very difficult and complex, and we unfortunately have not the time to go into details here. The ingestion of foreign bodies of any kind seems to be a major problem for curlews. However, you can only find out if you dissect the often sudden deaths. You can't see anything on the outside of the animals. Some stop eating, but not all of them. Foreign body ingestion is the reason why we no longer bring plant material into the aviaries, as you have seen further on the photos, and why we rake away all sticks and leaves every day and no longer use artificial grass mats, because they really also die on little branches and plant material which they ingest. Tilt wing disease is well known in zoos. The cause is often too fast growth in combination with too high protein content in the food. So the therapy is easy: reduce the protein content and possibly bandage or tape the wing. Trauma is much more problematic and requires veterinary diagnosis and treatment. Wounds, fractures, or central nervous systems may occur. Treatments are often time-consuming and complicated. In some cases, unfortunately, also require euthanasia. Pododermatitis, foot wounds, occur when the ground is too hard and rough, stone slabs, for example, where they walk on, or when the ground is too dirty and wet, then you have a hygiene problem. We unfortunately experienced these pododermatitis last year when we were using turf, We thought it's a nice idea to have more enrichment in the aviary, but because turf simply can't be cleaned, it was a catastrophe, as you see here in the right picture. It was totally ugly. In the beginning, it looked nice and green, but in the end, it was a catastrophe. So therefore, we changed again to sand. Overheating or even shock when birds are picked up is unfortunately a known problem also in other bird species. Treatment is difficult, so prophylactic attempts should be made to avoid this overheating. Avoid applying too much pressure on the bird's body when holding them. Be well prepared so that you can work really quickly. Don't handle birds if it's too warm outside. Sometimes a blindfold can help to calm birds down, but be careful with the nostril and the beaks. The bird must be still able to breathe well. And what we see is that the curlews usually eat poorly after handling and need a few days to recover and rest, ideally in familiar surroundings. So we would therefore not recommend direct release after handling, like after ringing, for example. Come to the point, post-release monitoring. We monitor the soft-release aviary with a camera. This way we can see whether our released curlews come back during the day or also during the night, and whether they accept the food that the zookeepers continue to offer them. The color rings are really important because they can be read and reported by biologists or even hobby ornithologists worldwide. Unfortunately, only in the districts of Grafschaft-Bentheim and the district of Steinfurt, biologists are specifically looking for ringed curlews. If that would be in the other districts also, we would have much more findings of birds, I'm pretty sure. The use of telemetry is relatively new. With the help of telemetry transmitters, even dead animals can be found more often, which is very interesting. Like the animal on the right side was found in France. It was shot illegally, and with the telemetry transmitter we could find out and also find out the hunter who shot it illegally. In general, the transmitter data is incredibly exciting. Biologists can see even the long migration distances of each individual bird, like you can see here in the map for several birds. Our curlew project started in 1999, and since then we have successfully raised and released 222 young birds. Two small interim studies showed that 15.8% of the ringed curlews were later spotted again in Germany, and at least 6.9% later spotted again as breeding birds in Germany. If we would have much more biologists who look specifically at the ringed, we maybe would have had much greater numbers here. Regarding the soft release, so far we think that soft release offers significantly more advantages than a hard release. Sorry for that. Above all, the presence of wild young birds and their father in the release area has extreme advantages. Because the young birds from the Headstarting project usually join the wild ones and benefit, for example, from the warning calls of the adult bird. The biologists in the field have observed this several times. And we are of course extremely excited about the evaluation of all telemetry data, which is still pending. Since in recent years we have increasingly received eggs or chicks, especially from biologists of other districts, but also from farmers or hunters, at least from all people who are not part of the actual project, we have organized a curlew symposium at the zoo in 2023 to bring all these people together. The identification aid you see in the right picture, developed by our education team, was presented so that people can distinguish between different birds and different eggs from birds. Various lectures were given, and it was explained that the curlew is now critically endangered in Germany and that the eggs or chicks cannot simply be collected by everybody. Even if all people want to help, they are not allowed. Hunters, in particular, are increasingly finding curlew nests when searching for fawns using drones. And of course, they then want to help that these eggs survive. But the legal situation is very complicated. In our opinion, it is essential to bring all stakeholders, authorities, farmers, hunters, interested parties, biologists, and so on one table to look for solutions, to explain what is possible, what is allowed, and what not, and so that we can help together the curlews. Yeah, collaboration, teamwork is the magic word. And for this, I would like to thank really everybody who is involved in our curlew project, really from my bottom of my heart, especially the animal keepers at Nordhorn Zoo. We believe that head starting can be one of many steps that can help prevent the curlews from becoming extinct, but rapid, joint, and above all, political action is necessary. And with this, I would like to thank you for your attention.